complex movements, what I mean by that is we're doing a movement that has several components to the motion, several different axes of motion. This is a good example. This whole section is a good place to apply these concepts. A lot of this is just what you're doing with the wrist. The wrist is really, it's that joint through which all the impulses of the arm are transmitted, and the arm is connected to our body, everything coming from the heart, which you want to communicate through the joints, through the arm, through the fingers to the key. And that's really what it's all about. So sometimes we have to, it's not about learning notes. We already know the notes. I hope that anybody that's learning Rachmaninoff's third is familiar with the notes and can learn those easily. It's about learning motions that we're going to use to play the notes reliably. And we have here, this is a very tricky passage, because if it were just the top notes, well, that's no problem. We just use rotation, and it's a simple motion. But now we get into a more complex motion because we add double notes in the right hand, yet we still want this to sound as our melody. All right, we want to have that nice melody. Now we have an accompaniment in the right hand as well. So the motion is that I need get more and more complex, hence the need for more practice. Now, in general, what I'm doing is I'm just modulating the weight, arm weight with my wrist. And you can see I want to come in and up. I want to come up because I want the sound to come. I want to take my weight out of the keys at the end of that little phrase. Oh, by the way, you also have double notes in the left hand, at least alternating. And you have that nice melody in the left hand, which is just a counter melody. So you can see there's lots of detail to work on in this passage. I can't just use a simple rotation. Okay, it has to be a little more subtle. So I'm using my shoulder a little bit. I'm coming down. My wrist is sort of going into more of a down position, but then it's going up toward the end. I want to take that weight out. There's sort of a rocking motion. This motion, but then add to that, there's a little more complexity because then I also have a little bit of this motion going on. So it's this and this. So that's what I mean by several different axes of motion. It's a little more complex, hence it takes a little more practice just to get it really dialed in. And actually, at this stage, as I'm practicing, I want to use more motion. So I get my elbows involved, get my arms involved, move everything a little more so I know how I'm moving and what the effects are going to be. Because if you don't try a motion, you won't know what the results will be if you don't actually try the motion and really put it to the test and see what it's going to do. So I'm going to do that here as I'm practicing. I really want these upper notes to sound. And all I've got really is this little finger doing that, because everything else is busy. So what what I'm doing is this. Yes, I have to come up and then I have to drop down to get the sound that I want. These little accent markings. But yet it's down, up, down, right? We all know to play our slurs down, up. I hope we know that by now if we're learning this piece. I'm trying to memorize this at the same time, so I'm trying not to look at the music. Different interval pattern here, right? We were here. These guys, and then we have, okay, those little changes, and then we stay there without that pattern. Okay, you really got to make a mental note of those little changes that are happening in your figurations. So this motion, we're coming up, we're coming down, but the wrist has to come up, and then the wrist is helping set my weight. And just judging that distance is going to be half the battle, just to judge the distance between each one of those intervals. Yes. Okay, so another great example of, and I'm going to give away some of my secrets of how I found to play things effectively. I was looking at this passage, these triplet 16th notes in the second movement, where it's sort of toward the close of the second movement. Page 45 for those of you with the score. And I just kept getting tripped up on these triplets. But I found that you really need this down. For me, I need to put my wrist down at this moment and use my arm weight to sort of as a springboard to get the rest of those triplets out. You see, it works every time. I mean, that's clean. That ending, you really hear it leading into that has to be strong. Yeah, for a while, that was the hardest part of it to play. I could never get that. Then I was like, oh wait, if my wrist goes down here, then it can go up. It goes down, and I've got this energy that then I'm transferring my fingers, right? I'm resisting that energy with my muscles in here a little bit. And it's a little bit of this sort of, okay? Getting your wrist down on that chord. Why? Because, you've got 3 notes you got to press down. It's enough effort to press down 1 when you're playing at this tempo, but then there's a lot more effort when you have to press down a sudden 3-note chord in the middle of these triplets. So that was tripping me up. Of course, you've got to settle your fingering as well, what you want. I use 4, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4 on that next chord. That, to me, that was the most reliable. I tried about 3 different sets of fingerings before I arrived on that one. Just trying to save you all some time. Just saying, I'm here for you, okay? Now, there's some other things in the third movement that I'd like to talk about, but I want to go back to the first movement because right now I'm getting ready. I'm trying to get ready for a recording session on Thursday. We're going to try to put out a video. I'm going to try to do the first movement by memory. I'm hoping to do that. So I've really got to look at some of these passages, figure out how I really want to play them, and then figure out how to memorize them. So here's a great example. All right. Does have to be practiced. It's not the hardest part of the concerto, but I sort of leave the easy parts till the end. What I found was it's easy if I go, I use 1, 2 on this little one. This is page 20, by the way, for those of you looking at the score. As you can see, Rachmaninoff, he was very considerate when he wrote this. He wrote in these very quick alternating notes, but then he interspersed these larger chords with the smaller. It's just a third in the right hand here. It's just a third. And that allows these shifts to happen, these octave shifts to happen more smoothly. But part of that is choosing what finger you're going to use. So I'm going to use 1 and 2. And then you see I'm headed down, but I don't have to go all the way down. Again, that one is 1 and 2. Now this one's a little different because now I'm starting with 1, 2, 5, and I'm going to use 2 and 4 on that little third, and that's the last of them. So I've got to practice those fingering and those shifts. And try not to have too much annoying practicing in this video. That's sometimes I look at practice videos, it's just annoying. Alright, so I will drill that later. This part, I found this was really hard to memorize. There's just so many seemingly, it's hard for me to contextualize the patterns in this they keep changing. It's like these undulating patterns that keep the scales and the modes keep changing in subtle ways. So I found this extremely hard to memorize. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to see what I can do here. That jump is a little tricky, right? I'm not sure if it's a fingering issue. I may need to change my fingering there. I try and use 1-5. Maybe not smart. So anyway, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go ahead and end this live stream, but I wanted to feature a few of the spots where there's some really complex motions. I'll be doing more videos like this and breaking down some of the complex motions we use to play things like Rachmaninoff. So if you have any comments or questions, you can always leave them for me, and I'll try to get to those. Thank you so much for viewing. Have a nice day.